In our community, there are three sectors: the public, the private, and the nonprofit. That third sector is what this show is all about. I have with me Dan Stewart, President and CEO of Achieva Resources. Thank you for being my guest today, Dan.
You're very welcome. I look forward to coming today.
Well, I'm really excited to catch up. I feel like I'm a little behind on things that are happening there at Achieva. And so, like I usually do with my guests, I think we'll back up a little bit and start with just a little bit of history about how Achieva got started and why it was started. And then we'll move on into what's going on now.
Great. Well, I can go back in history and talk about in the mid-50s. There were a large number of families here in Wayne County who had children who were born with the term mental retardation. And many times you can remember, or you've heard the stories where families were told, put them in an institution, they're going to die. Well, there was one lady here in town by the name of Virgie Gabbard, and she said, darn it, I'm not going to let that happen to my son Freddie. And she got together a whole group of families, and they talked about trying to start a school for children with disabilities. And that all evolved into her opening the first classroom in her garage in May 1956. And our organization was started as Wayne County Council for Retarded Children, Inc. Over the years, we evolved to Wayne County Council for adults with disabilities, and then we became Green Acres, which a lot of people may remember, right. And then in 2001 we became Achieva Resources. Kind of the history, Virgie ran that classroom from 1956 until about 1967. There was a group of women in town who owned some land. It was a Federated Women's Group, and they donated the property out on Mendelson Drive. And if you go way back in history into the 1800s, it was land grant. And the people who first went there said this was Green Acres. Oh, so wow. That's kind of how the name evolved. But Wilbur Rodenberg was the second executive director that got hired, and Rody did an incredible job over his lifetime for this organization and wrote some grants, and they built their first facility at 800 Mendelson Drive in 1968. That building's gone through 4 additions, actually 5. 8 years ago, we opened the Virgie Gabbard building, which is now a center for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities for older adults and for people with significant disabilities, and that facility was named after her. And this wonderful community helped us raise almost $1 million to build that facility, so it was debt-free the day we moved in.
Oh, wow.
In 1978, Rody and the parents and the board opened their first group homes, and we were some of the first group homes in Indiana. And these are 3 8-bed facilities that are located on our property. And people with intellectual and developmental disabilities still live in those facilities. And each one of those homes is licensed a little differently, but it has to do with the level of need of the people. Right. So we have the lower need and the moderate need, and then people with much more significant. We grew into being a major service provider, and at one point in the 2001 to 2005, we were in 28 counties. We provided services in 3 of the healthy family programs, right. First Steps in right. 3 regions. And then things started to change with the state, mm-hmm. and there was reorganization of Healthy Families, reorganization of First Steps. And our board of directors decided to really look at where is our future. Mm-hmm. On October 31st, 2010, we then became an advocacy organization. And currently the programs that we operate is what we call our Excel program. And it's early experiences for children with disability or delays. And it's kids that aren't eligible for First Steps.
Okay.
We've been doing for years kids that were 0 through 3. And then we added 4 and 5 and 6-year-olds in the past 3 or 4 years, because we found that a lot of kids had delays that were identified later in life. Right. And when we first started, we thought we would see maybe 100 families a month getting some form of service. It has now grown to be 250 to 280 families a month. It doesn't mean everybody's going to get a service, but we're doing follow-ups. Right. But in that program, we provide resources, age-appropriate toys and books. making sure the families are getting the physical, occupational, speech, developmental therapies. A lot of times we're helping them get food, diapers. I give one example. A child was born with spina bifida and needed a special mattress. And that mattress was over $1,000.
Oh my.
And United Way has their 2-on-1 and information that they put out, and we put a little note out on that, and in less than 4 hours, a gentleman just north of town called our developmental specialist and said, "Send me the bill, I will buy the mattress." So that child has really done well. And the other things that we've involved in now with advocacy, we're doing a lot of self-determination training. We have an action club, which is a Kiwanis club for adults with disabilities. We're doing a lot of training, socialization, recreation, and then we started our guardianship program 4 years ago, and that has turned out to be really a full-time position where currently in Wayne Union and Fayette counties we're guardian for 48 adults with any type of disability. The youngest being 19, the oldest 94. People live in nursing homes, supported living homes. They may live at home. And we're caring for them so that there's 3 goals with our guardianship programs: live in a safe place, get quality health care services and supports, and most importantly, we want you to be happy.
Nice, nice. Let's focus in on a few of those through our time here. Let's start with the youngest. You said you spoke a little bit more about the Excel program so far, but how would families get connected with that type of program?
They can call our office, which is the 966-0502 number. And if you know of a person in the community who has a child with a delay or a disability between the ages of birth and 6 years of age, we will get one of our 2 staff to come out and do an assessment. When we go do the assessments, we use a tool called the Ages and Stages Questionnaire, the ASQ. And that tool really evolves in terms of months: 2 months, 4 months, 6, all the way until you get to 72 months. As the kids get older, the assessments are done 4 to 6 month increments. As the kids are younger, every 2 to 3 months we go back. We want to see the child being able to develop. As I mentioned, we give the families age-appropriate toys and books. It's critical that the families be involved. And 95% of the families we serve are on Medicaid. And sometimes people think, oh, Medicaid, are they really involved? Will they really do these things? And I have to say that, our experiences in all the years that I've been here now, starting my 18th year, in this program, the vast majority of those families really care about their kids.
Sure.
And they want to see their kids develop. And it's a United Way funded program, so thank God for Whitewater Valley United Way. Otherwise, the service wouldn't be there. And also the support that we get from the Wallace Crippled Children's Foundation that helps us with some of the resource materials we give families. But now, with the number of kids that we're seeing, we're really helping families go to food banks, getting physician appointments, therapies, as I mentioned earlier, and then the follow-up to make sure that they're developing. 2 goals of the program: dealing with kids with disabilities or kids with delays. Kids with delays, we hope that those delays go away, and when they enter school, that they're going to be really well prepared to enter kindergarten, be successful, and get a high school diploma. For the children with disabilities, we want them to be able to enter the life skills program as best prepared as possible, depending on the level of their disability. And we hope that some of those kids are going to get a high school diploma, or if the kids do get a certificate, they're going to be able to hopefully develop that they can get into services, supports, maybe get a community job, etc. And we've had a great relationship in working with the school systems in that transition.
What can the community do to support that particular program, Dan?
The biggest thing is, referrals, and let us know. I mean, we get referrals from doctors and physicians, and if people, really know of someone that is having issues like that, to certainly call us. And then we're always looking for donations for that program. Age-appropriate books, children's toys. If they're in decent condition, we would love to have those that we can give to the kids. And again, thinking that most of the kids we see, unless they're born with a disability, we start to see them at 3, 4, 5 months as they transition with their pediatrician or their family doctor, and then all the way to the age of 6. So if people would like to contribute stuff like that, they can bring that to our facility, or if we need be, we'll come to them.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. Let's skip over a little bit, and I know that one of the things that we need to talk about is the guardianship and how people can get involved with that. So let's talk a little bit more about that program, and then also particularly how can our community be supportive of that program?
People with disabilities, as they've gotten older, we're trying to assist them to make sure that they have a quality of life. And one of the things that we became aware of about 5 or 6 years ago is that, I'll use Wayne County as an example. There's approximately 2,500 people living in Wayne County with some form of disability, especially those that are on Medicaid waivers. We know from the state statistics that 51% of those folks have no family. They have no one.
My.
When we look at the people that were in Achieva's programs, now AWS, who runs the day service programs, that number is still a valid number. People that get older, they're in a nursing home. They may be in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, dementia, Alzheimer's. We see a lot of that. People with some mental illness issues. You'd be shocked at the number of folks who really have nobody living in their family, or family that can't help them for whatever reasons, or worse yet, families that just don't want to.
Right.
And there are some families that are just kind of fall into that category. So we get calls from nursing homes, physicians, doctors, lawyers, adult protective services, telling us about these circumstances. So if a person has a disability, by Indiana law, they're classified as an incapacitated adult. About 6 years ago, we met with all of the judges in this region, Wayne, Union, and Fayette counties, and we talked about the need for starting a guardianship program. And they all agreed to do this. One of the unique things about our program and working with the 3 counties is that the judges waive fees. So when we go with a petition to the judge, we don't have to do a recording fee, we don't have to have court fees, we don't have to do a guardian ad litem fee, and they can be waived. And again, it's the decision of the judge, but that certainly helps the individual. Because again, we're dealing with, most of these people are on Medicaid,
Right.
but we also deal with families. And we go to the judge, we ask for temporary guardianship. Most of the judges are using a guardian ad litem, which is the person that investigates for the court to determine, should this be an appropriate final decision. They write a report, and then we have a final hearing. We've gone in front of the judges in the counties, and they've just been incredibly cooperative. And now people are really learning about the program. Trying to fund it has absolutely been a real challenge. Our board is committed, some of the resources that we have, and a little over a year ago, we wrote a grant to the Indiana Supreme Court. And we were one of 9 programs that were funded, and we received $38,500. And that fiscal year ended 2 days ago. Starting July 1st, we have a new proposal into the Supreme Court, trying to get funded for our 2nd year, and we're going to know in the very near future. We've also gotten support from foundations. Wayne County Foundation has helped us. AWS Foundation has helped us. Glick Foundation has helped us with an organization that they own properties here in town. And their foundation, we've been able to serve some people that lived in their apartments. And now we've moved them in the nursing home, so they've been very gracious. So we're constantly looking for that resource. But as of today, we're guardian for 48 people, 48 adults, 18 years of age minimum. Our oldest is 94. And we have 13 petitions that are in the courts right now waiting for a hearing. We get some emergencies, and I'll give you 2 examples. The guardianship program can be life-saving. About a year ago, we got a phone call from a heart surgeon here in town, and he called me up and he said, "Dan, I have a 51-year-old, cognitively disabled man who has just been rushed to the emergency room. He has a collapsed aortic valve. If he doesn't have open heart surgery in the next 24 hours, he will die. Do you think you can get guardianship?" We were able to pull all the information together. I called one of the judges. It was Judge Colger that was available that day. Took him the petition, explained to him the circumstances. In less than a half an hour, I received the guardianship papers. We went to read. We signed the consent forms for him to have his surgery. Here we are a year later, and without mentioning his name, but let's say we moved him into a rehabilitation nursing home. Then he went into a regular nursing home. And this gentleman wanted to be able to go back out and live in the community. About a month ago, he moved into a group home here in Wayne County. He is now coming to a day program every day, 5 days a week. His quality of life is incredible. And you know, the guardianship program, and because of the support of the community,
Right.
saved his life.
Right.
And we can give numerous examples of that. On the other side, in the last year, we've had 16 people pass away. And more than half of those funerals, it is Carol and Angie and I, two of my staff, and the funeral director, and occasionally we see some others. I can give one story that we had a lady pass away in her late 80s. We were having her funeral service just up in Fountain City, and we got to the cemetery at 2 o'clock, and we were going to have a little prayer, and the three of us were there, the funeral director, Carol, and Angie, and I, and here comes a car, and an older lady in a walker gets out of her car and walks up and sits down, and all of a sudden we see this man walking, and he's got a winter coat on, and he had a little gait issue, and he was a man who had cerebral palsy. We went up and talked to both of them and said, "Hi, are you friends with her?" "No, we read in the newspaper that you said she had no family, so we didn't want her to go away without having some friends here." They both showed up. This older woman got in her car, God bless her, drove away. And I said to the gentleman, "Could I drive you home?" He said, "I live in a boarding house here in the Winchester area, in Fountain City, excuse me." And he goes, "Yeah, it'd be nice if you drove me home." He walked 1.25 miles in that cold weather just to come to give respects for that lady. That's what's really cool about this guardianship program. And we've saved some lives. We have an incredible relationship with Reed Hospital, the physicians, people on the psych unit, where we're getting referrals and trying to help folks. But we do have a need for the guardianship program, and that's looking for volunteers.
Okay.
As part of our Supreme Court program, for every person that we have a guardianship, or we call a ward, we need a volunteer to be assigned to that person. And our volunteers need to pass a criminal background check. They must have a clean driving record. We do an orientation, and this is what we ask them. 2 to 4 hours per month, go visit that person. Most of them have a little bit of money, but become their friend. Talk to them. Some of them may want to go have a coffee. Some can go shopping, some can't. At the end of the given month, we ask that they write a report to us. And that report said, when did you go? How long were you there? What did you do? What's their current health status and other issues or concerns? Our volunteer guardians or advocates cannot make 3 decisions or 3 issues. One, they can't manage their money, can't approve surgeries or end-of-life decisions. Those are ours and more mine. But the people that are volunteers, right now we have 4 individuals who have done that, and one other requirement is during the year we're doing 4 training programs for 3.5 hours in the evening. We will feed them, and they'll learn more about how they can work and help these people. So
that's nice.
It's a big need, and we would love to have people in the community volunteer by calling our agency, and you'll get a lot out of it.
And we're talking about community, and you've mentioned the 3 different counties. Is that particularly the area that you're serving now?
We're serving Wayne, Union, and Fayette counties with our guardianships, but once we get a guardianship in this county, we now have people living in Johnson County, Marion County, Shelby County, and Henry County.
Oh, wow.
So the ward or the person we've gotten guardianship, for whatever reasons, we've had to move them.
Okay.
That may be for a real positive reason, a better place for them to live, or maybe some people that have had behaviors, some psychological issues, so they go to a different kind of home, and that may be only available in other counties. But we do keep the guardianship of those folks.
Okay. So our community can be of best support to this program by really considering a volunteer opportunity for just a few hours a month.
Just a few hours a month, 2 to 4 hours a month.
And you'll provide training and a meal.
Yep.
That sounds like a great deal. So we've talked about the youngest. We've talked about for me, it was a newer program that I didn't know much about. Of the other kinds of things that Achieva does, where should we start with the time that we have remaining?
We can talk about our Action Club.
Okay.
The Kiwanis International, about 8 to 10 years ago, decided that they wanted to start programs for adults with disabilities, or a service club. the Richmond Kiwanis Club came to us and said, we'd like to sponsor a club. We did this 3 years ago. We got 45 people. We had a wonderful sponsorship dinner. We were at the Leland. That club has grown now to over 50 members.
Oh my.
They meet once a month. We meet the second Tuesday. They have speakers come, talk to them, and everything from health and wellness and safety and fire. And we've had people come from the museum. But one of the cool things they're doing is also community service. We go and they have a little cleaning project at the reservoir. This year we're going to sell candles, and they're raising money so that at Christmas we're going to be able to donate to 2 or 3 charities in the community.
Oh, nice.
So they're going to start their candle sales in the month of August.
Okay.
You know, they do some really cool things. Some of them attend the Self Advocates of Indiana board meetings in Indianapolis. We assist with transportation, but they're just a great social group, and you know they're helping benefit themselves. They elect their own officers, and that's really kind of fun. Just watching elections when you have 2 people competing for the president or the secretary or the treasurer, and telling them that they need to come in front of the group and tell them why they would like to be an officer or a board member. So it's great training, and it's really been wonderful. They're very, very active, and they've really done some good. Last year they had a can drive, and they raised somewhere in the area of 1,000 pounds of food.
Oh, wow.
So that we gave that to food banks and made sure that some families had canned goods and things for Thanksgiving.
Wonderful. I'm so excited to be able to catch up. We have a few more minutes left. So of the things that we haven't talked about, and I know we said we could probably talk for a couple of hours about what's going on, of the things we haven't talked about yet, what would be something that you would want to make sure that the community would know about Achieva Resources at this point?
Well, I think the main thing, too, is we're doing a lot of training with people with disabilities. And right now, the main service provider in the community is AWS. Their old name was Anthony Wayne Services. Now they've gone with the acronym AWS, and they rent a lot of our facilities. So we are working hand in hand in collaboration and cooperation with them for self-determination training, health and safety training, how to ride public transportation. So when we meet with our self-advocates, you know, we want to make sure that their quality of life is at a very high level, and if they have specific needs, we're trying to deal with those needs. A couple other things we're doing is like voting. You know, we'll have an election in November, so a lot of the people with disabilities want to vote, so we assist them. We've had the mayor come out. We've had other people from in all 3 counties register them. We talk about the candidates. It's nonpartisan.
Right.
And then we can also work with them to assist them, because we have some people in wheelchairs that need to go to an accessible place, and they may need to have a polling judge go in with them.
Right.
So then they've been awesome in helping us with that. Human rights, civil rights. Making sure that people with disabilities understand what their human rights are, what their civil rights are. They're no different than you and I.
Exactly.
And sometimes there still are some discriminating issues that still exist in our communities, and we're trying to work around that. But on the positive side, we want them to feel good. We want them to, be involved in their community, participate in things, and just have a good quality of life and be safe. Again, as I said earlier, live in a safe place, quality health care services and supports, and most importantly, be happy.
Be happy. Yeah. That's a wonderful thing a goal for anybody. Wonderful that we have advocates in our community that are making sure that's happening for those that may not happen otherwise. So you said that you've been there at Achieva for 18?
Just started my 18th year yesterday.
Why did you start with Achieva, Dan?
My entire life, I've been in healthcare services, and I got a master's degree in vocational rehabilitation and counseling. And in 1970, I started in a small program in Alton, Illinois, and then I had a chance to move to Indiana, and I was up in northwest Indiana for a number of years, and then moved to Indianapolis, and then in 1996, 97, I heard about this position being open, and I knew Wilbur Rodenberg, who had been the exec, and Rody called me, and I was just blessed to get the interview and get this job. And we were then basically a 2-county program. We grew. We've been able to serve so many kids and adults with disabilities, and it's really been my passion in my life to give back. And this has been an incredible experience. The support we get in the 3 counties from our county commissioners, United Way, foundations. It's just been incredible. And we talked a little earlier about maybe how other people can help. We're always looking for donations. And if anyone really has a passion in their heart to want to contribute to us, to help us with our children's program, Excel, with our guardianship, our advocacy, we're always grateful for any contributions that people would give us.
That's right. I want to say a personal thank you, because when I think about people in our community with disabilities, I automatically think about you and your passion and your generosity and how you just pour all of yourself into taking care of people. And so thank you for doing that. Thank you for all the people that you've helped and continue to help. And thank you today for being a guest on my show.
Great. I really appreciate you inviting me, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us on The Third Sector.